So starting straight away, I'm not going to bore you guys with an intro. This is an honorable mention. This runway, the code is LFVD. It is somewhere in France, and as you can see, it has two very short runways. Now, I assume this is some sort of RC airfield. For the runways that are later in the video, I will actually go on Google Maps and we'll try to discern what they are. But the runway you see my plane on at the moment is 300 and some feet. This other runway is 229 feet. I wanted to put this one in because, like I said, it's an honorable mention. But a lot of the other ones are going to be grass or dirt. The number one shortest runway is paved, but a lot of them will be grass and dirt. So I wanted to include a cool one that would actually be fun for you guys to land and take off from as our first airport. And now we have loaded in Slovenia, which, as you can see, the trees look absolutely horrendous. This runway or airport is LA. It is 320 feet of grass, if you couldn't tell. Yeah, these trees are absolutely some of the worst I've ever seen in my entire life. Here is what this airport, quote unquote, looks like on Google Maps. They caught this guy in the middle of mowing. Not so sure this is any kind of airport or RC runway or anything. So I don't quite understand why it shows up as a runway in the sim, but it is here nonetheless, and this is what it looks like. Pretty bad, to be honest. Next up, we have transitioned to the United States, and it does somewhat actually look like a runway here on this next one. This one is grass, as you can tell. It's 310 feet. We're in New Hampshire. This is 70NH. That's the code. Now, in the sim, it says it's a heliport, but I will pull it up here in a second on Google Maps and show you. It doesn't particularly look like a heliport. I guess helicopters could take off from this house's yard, because on Google Maps, the house does look fairly large. So maybe this is a wealthy individual. But here you go. Somewhat looks like a runway. Says it's a heliport in the sim. Not sure where they would keep a helicopter or plane if it does stay on the property. But this right here is our 9th longest runway in Microsoft Flight Sim. And I'm not going to fly on these until the last one because I don't want to bore you guys with that. I know most of you are watching just to get these codes. Let's go on to number 8. Okay, next up, we are in Pennsylvania. This is a 309-foot grass runway, but as you can see, I don't think this is a runway at all. It's in this kind of weird circular neighborhood type of area, and there's nothing that would indicate this is a runway to me. This is 3PA2, and here it is on Google Maps for reference. Like I said, I mean, it's just a field. It's a field in this circular neighborhood. I really have no clue what the sim was thinking to call that a runway, but it's technically a runway, so we'll call it that. And next up, we are in the beautiful northern Italy, near the Alps. Now, this is the coolest one so far. This is our 7th biggest airport, smallest airport, my bad. And we have a Concorde here for size reference. This one is 306 feet. For some reason, I can't speak English when I'm in Italy looking at this airport. I'm not sure if I already said the code, but I will say it again. This is LIYL, again, northern Italy, near the Alps. This is the coolest one we've seen so far. And on Google Maps, it's quite interesting. Let's take a look. So here we are on Google Maps. Now, this map data is from 2025, and it is clearly not paved. This is the runway, and there's no asphalt, but it does say that it's an airstrip. Avio Superficie San Felice. I know I did that horribly. But here it is. If anyone knows anything about this little airstrip in northern Italy, it's right here. I'll zoom out so you can see. Please let us know, because it's quite intriguing, and it's my favorite so far in the sim, that's for sure. Our next airport here is in eastern France. Now, this is not the runway. It is LFKP, and if you couldn't tell already, this is kind of a normal grass runway. I believe it's 1,800 feet-ish. And then over here, this runway is an RC runway. Now, I've done challenges at this runway in the past, but in Flight Sim 2020, it's like in a ditch. You can see it kind of is here. You see how the sides slope up slightly, but in 2020, it makes it impossible to fly from with most planes. But as we can see, they fixed it now. This runway is 291 feet, and it is paved, which makes it much better. Here it is on Google Maps. There's that grass runway we were talking about, and here is what is clearly some kind of RC runway. It would be cool if Red Bull or something tried to take off and land at one of these. And now, the 5th shortest runway in Microsoft Flight Sim. Another one in Pennsylvania. It's interesting. A lot of these are in Pennsylvania or France. Not sure the reason for that. Now, this one does not look at all like a runway. It's 270 feet of grass, as I'm sure you can see, in this little corridor of trees. Now, this is clearly supposed to be trees as well, but the sim couldn't figure it out. Same with right here. So I think the actual quote-unquote runway is this section, which I will show to you on Google Maps. This is where it says that airport, which it clearly is not. I can't even get a little guy out there. Clearly is not an, I don't know what you could take off there. 270 feet with trees this close. I'm not sure any plane would have much luck doing that. Here's what your perspective would look like trying to take off. Yeah, so 270 feet of roll, not even, and then a very steep climb out. Not sure how effective that would be. Let's go to number 4. We're almost to the top 3. So our next runway is in Germany, kind of in the middle of a city. And here it is, apparently. It thinks this little asphalt section is the runway, although in the sim, it said the runway was made out of dirt. This one is 265 feet. The code is ED74. Now, I figured out that's a hint to what this is in real life. I figured out what this is in real life by going to Google Maps. Maybe these little square things can help you find out, but let's go on Google Maps here. And here it is. Balloon star plots. Now, that doesn't say a lot. Balloon or ballon. I assume that means balloon in English, but it's in German. You click on it and it's like a hot air balloon type of thing. So it kind of makes sense that it would show up as an airport, although it's not really an airport. And let's see what it looks like from street view. Wow. Looks like nothing. But there it is, a little hot air balloon port, I guess. Something for sightseeing or whatever that showed up as a real runway of only 265 feet in Microsoft Flight Sim. And it thinks the little road next to it is the runway, which is quite interesting. Next up, we are in New Guinea. If you couldn't tell from the wonderful scenery here, this is our 3rd shortest runway in Microsoft Flight Sim, and it is just a patch of grass. Now, I'm very curious about this one because of what it looks like. It's 254 feet, but unfortunately for us, Google Maps doesn't give us much insight at all. So here's Google Maps. This is, I think that is the square that we're seeing in the sim, but it's not a high-res image. I'm not sure exactly why that is the way it is. There's no resolution there. On Google Earth, I assume it's the same data. So there's really not much to see here. If you have any suggestions of what it is, please let us know. Okay, I take it back. We have switched to Bing Maps because Google Maps didn't work. Bing Maps is what Microsoft Flight Sim uses. And it is literally just a section of different colored grass, like that's been cut or who knows what. And now the 2nd shortest runway in Microsoft Flight Sim. I'm actually kind of lying there. I'm starting to realize the one we did first as an honorable mention was shorter than pretty much all of these, but I have a PDF of all of the airports and you can sort them by the shortest runways, but it sorts them by the shortest, longest runway at that airport. Anyway, this one is in Austria, like I said. 246 feet of dirt, grass, something like that. You can see the white section right in front of the 747 and in front of that F-18. It's definitely in a very pretty area, although it's not very distinct. I went on Google Maps to figure it out. It would be cool if this was paved and it was the runway. It looks like it has lines, like it's almost supposed to be paved, but it's just not for whatever reason. But if we click right here, it says something model Flieger Club, which I assume means like model flying club. Temporarily closed, but as you can see, it was for, what are these exactly? They're not just RC planes. They're like almost like RC gliders. I'm honestly happy that a lot of these RC airports show up as real airports in the sim. It definitely adds to the fun. But now let's go on to the shortest runway in Microsoft Flight Sim, which is paved. This one's pretty cool. And the shortest runway in all of Microsoft Flight Sim at a massive 218 feet. This one is paved. This is probably the king, the coolest of all the short runways. I wish the scenery was slightly better, like right there and like over there a little bit, but beggars can't be choosers. This is AYLU in New Guinea. But I do want to take off and land here. We're in the NX Cub, so that's about almost as good as you're going to get for a STOL plane. So if this plane can't do it, not much can. Here it is. Abao Island. I'm probably butchering that name. And this is where it shows the runway is. Let's get a perspective here. Let me go up and we can compare the two. So here we go. Abao Island compared to the same island in Microsoft Flight Sim. This is where it's showing the runway is, which it thinks this little... I'm just not realizing. It thinks this little patch of whatever this patch is the runway. Here we go. We've made the plane as light as possible. Again, I can't speak. Static takeoff. Release the brakes. Come on! Tail strike, but we got off the ground, and that's with no headwind. We're on clear weather. The landing will no doubt be much harder. Ignore our little, our hook here. And here we go. Back on approach. We'll have to time this perfectly. This plane has no reverse thrust, though, so it will be slightly different. Let's see. Kind of have to plan it. Stop. Yeah, I think I could have done this approach much slower and not crashed and died, but there it is. The top 10 runways, shortest runways in Microsoft Flight Sim. If you guys end up flying to these and you enjoy them, or if you find some other ones and you think those are shorter or they're cooler or they're more interesting for whatever reason, let us know in the comments.